and then it was like recording.
Thank you.
Yeah, in progress now.
It's in progress now. Thank you very much. You've saved the day, Cassandra. So there's going to be some people who aren't here now, and they'll be looking at this recording later, and you can thank Cassandra there. So thanks very much. Okay. Now, as people come on board, I'm going to start sharing my screen and then go through this week. But there's a few people that I wanted to reach out and just to introduce briefly, and then we'll continue on with the content for this week and also what the plan is moving forward. So my name's David Ellis. I'm the unit assessor for this unit. So if this is one of your first units at Southern Cross University, unit assessing is the academic who's responsible for that particular unit. When I'm not doing that, I'm the course coordinator for secondary, and at the moment, I am also the acting chair of secondary education for the faculty. So keeps me busy, but lucky I love teaching. You know, I've been teaching for 35 years. So for me, it's been a fantastic ride. But I wanted to introduce, we've got Dr. Gabriella Foreman, who's in the room, and Gabriella will be taking the Gold Coast tutorials. If you can give us a wave. Yep, thanks, Gabriella. We've got Selena Giles, who may or may not be coming into this session later. And we also have Emma Lord, who's over in Perth. So there's a number of staff involved, and I'm really excited to have this team together. I think it's going to be great as we walk together through the content through this unit. Okay, so I'm going to start sharing my screen, and then we will go from there. Okay, and I'll just be checking in just to make sure that you can see that okay. So just to check, can someone just give me a thumbs up if we can see, or just type in the chat for me actually, because when I'm sharing I can't see my screen. So can everyone see the picture of the Gen AI? That would be great. Yes, awesome. Thank you. Right. So let's have a look at this particular unit. And what I want to do is provide some context to equip you with a greater understanding of what it is that we're doing here. Every course in teacher education in Australia has to be accredited. Okay, if you want to teach in a school, you need to study an accredited course, and you need to be registered as a teacher. Okay, so that's one thing that we need to know. The second thing is that the accrediting authority called AITSL, that is the Australian Institute for Teaching and School Leadership. So that is the national authority. However, they delegate accreditation duties to the jurisdictions. So because Southern Cross University has its mother campus in Lismore in New South Wales, that's the reason why NESA, the New South Wales Education Standards Authority, is our accrediting body. Okay, so if you didn't know that, that's a fun fact. Okay, so let's have a look at what it is that we're going to be talking about for this particular unit, and we'll go from there. So in the name, it says Technologies and Design Curriculum and Pedagogy 2. So NESA says that we have to do 2 curriculum and pedagogy units. So you might be thinking, well, what does that mean? Curriculum and pedagogy are 2 units that you're going to study in your initial teacher education that focuses on what it is that you have to teach and how. Okay, so it's the what and the how. And in this particular unit, Curriculum and Pedagogy 2, we focus on senior subjects. So when I say senior, I'm talking about years 11 and 12. If you're old like me, you might even occasionally refer to them as forms, 5th form and 6th form, but I don't think there's anyone in here older than me. So that's what we're focused on in this unit. And then in term 1, there's another unit called EDUC3006, and that will be focusing on years 7 to 10 curriculum. Okay, so I've just given you a little bit of a brief rundown on what this unit's about and what other units you're required to study. We have, looking at the design of this particular site, we have this section here called teaching slides. So as I teach every week, what will happen is one of these slides will become available to you. So you can see that I've uploaded the first 3 weeks at the moment, relating to this particular assignment. And then those slides will become available to you so you can access them from that particular section. What it is that we are learning about is there is allocated in the unit content section. So you might find that it's a little bit different to yours, and that's because as staff members, we have the staff view. If I was to change it, I'd be entering the student preview, and this might be looking a little bit more like how yours is presented on your screen. Okay, I'll go back. So the content, if I go back to the content for this week, what we're looking at is the curriculum, understanding the what. And when I say the what, I'm referring to what it is that we have to teach. Okay, because in Australia, we have a very prescriptive curriculum, which has been designed in that particular way. So what you'll find is that no matter where you are in a particular state, that you have to learn the same thing. And they do that for equity reasons. So if I'm talking about the state of New South Wales and I'm down in Wagga, down in the south of the state, or if I'm in Moree, up north of the state, we're learning the same, we're delivering the same content to the students, but what are they learning might be very different. So this week, we're going to sort of unpick that a little bit. So that's this particular module, understanding your curriculum. We're also, for this session, going to be stopping in at the assessment tasks, and we're going to unpack assessment task 1 for you tonight. So let me first talk about the module content for this week, and then in the latter half of this workshop tonight, I'm going to be focusing on the assessment task. And we're just going to have a laser focus together on assessment task 1. For those of you who are familiar with the Southern Cross model, our 6-week academic calendar, you'll be familiar with the fast pace that we move at. And we're going to be unpacking this in more detail during our tutorial sessions, and tonight some of you will be working with Selena. But for now, we're just going to focus on the assessment task. So let's go through it. And I'm just going to open it up and I'm going to zoom in. So there we go. And whilst I do that, can someone just indicate in the chat if that size is large enough for you to see, or whether I need to go a little bit larger? Excellent. Thank you. It's always good to get that feedback. Otherwise, you can go off on a tangent and then it won't benefit anyone. So let me just go through this very quickly. Okay, assessment task 1, we can see when it's due and we can see what it's worth. When it comes to word limits, Gabriella would probably agree that we get lots of questions. Students will say, oh, look, I'm coming in, my assignment's going to be way over 1,500. It might be 2,500, or, oh, I'm at 3,000. And the standard of response that we'll give to you is, you probably need to be more concise. Now, I'm not someone who's going to be counting words, but I can look at a document and just go to the word count section and it can tell me how many words are in your document. If it's around 10% either side, not a problem. Okay, but once it starts getting to 30%, 40%, 50% plus or minus 1,500, then I'm thinking, well, if it's like 50% under 1,500, it's around 750 words, then you've probably missed something or missed some detail. Or if it's around 2,500, then you've got, there's a lot of flowery language in there. You're probably not concise enough. Okay, so that's my position on the word limits. I'm not going to be counting words, but try and keep it within a certain tolerance of around 10%. Okay. I find that once you've developed your assignment, if you're someone who really struggles to cut words down, that you can submit it to someone else, get them to have a look at and just put lines through anything that you might be repeating as a hint. Hot tip. Okay, so what's this task about? Here it says that teachers are provided with a curriculum that includes outcomes and standards. Okay, we'll look at that later. It is the role of the teacher to develop units of work, lesson plans, resources, and assessment that allow students to meet these outcomes at the identified achievement standards. So your work as a teacher, and I do acknowledge that there are people in here who are teachers, okay? But I'm addressing this to everyone. Your work as a teacher involves the preparation, the design of your learning experiences for your students. Okay, so that's where units of work and lesson plans and resources come in. Okay. Now, rather than reinventing a wheel or designing some assessment tasks without really having much experience in teaching, what we can do is we can take a step on other people's shoulders. So what do I mean by that? What I mean is that there is research that's been undertaken that identifies that there are some teaching strategies out there that are high impact teaching strategies. Now, what does that mean? That means that there are some teaching strategies out there that have been identified that are very effective for student learning. So naturally, if you're designing a unit of work, if you're designing some lesson plans or some resources, it would make sense for your students to incorporate strategies such as these into your teaching resources and plans. For what purpose? To improve their learning. Simple as that. So what I find is that by doing this, we are stepping up on the shoulders of people that have already done the work and the research, and we can be more effective from the start. Okay, which is wonderful. That's what we want to do as a beginning teacher. So the tasks ask us, you will propose 2 hit strategies that could be used to teach year 11 and 12 outcomes. Okay. What outcomes? This is where you're going to get to choose. So I'm just going to stop I'm just going to stop sharing for a minute because I want to see the people in the room. Okay. Put your hand up if you're in Queensland right now and you intend on working in Queensland. Okay. A few people, not a lot. Put your hands down. Put your hand up if you're in New South Wales and you intend on working in New South Wales. Okay. A few more people. Hands down. Victoria. Any Victorians? Okay. Any in WA? Excellent. And I'll just use one more. I won't run through all the states. Any Tasmanians? Yep. Excellent. Okay. So the purpose of that for me as a teacher is I'm getting feedback from you. And I'm now using this information to think, okay, well, I've got some students who are in Victoria. I've got some students in Queensland. I've got some students in New South Wales. And my future teaching, I will make sure I talk about the diversity of curriculum as a result. Okay, so when we're teaching, our pointed questions really inform how we teach and what we teach. So getting back to the original task, let's do that. Okay. So to hit high impact teaching strategies that could be utilized to teach year 11 and 12 outcomes. So getting back to the whole reason asking you to put your hand up, if you're from New South Wales, I'll be expecting that you choose some outcomes from a New South Wales syllabus. If you're from Tasmania, I want you to choose some outcomes from a Tasmanian curriculum. If you're from Victoria, the same, from a Victorian curriculum. Now, question for someone to put in the chat. Let's see who's got the trigger fingers happening. What curriculum would we be looking to find outcomes in? Would it be junior curriculum or would it be senior curriculum? Let's see who comes first. Oh, look at that. Natasha Kane, you are quick. Okay. Followed by Vivek and then Cassandra, third. Okay. So it's good that you seem to understand the difference between the junior and senior. Okay. Next, what outcomes and what syllabus or what curriculum? We want to make this unit important and workable for you. So with that in mind, if your teaching area is food technology, for instance, then I would be hoping that you have chosen some senior food technology outcomes. So say, for instance, from a Queensland curriculum, you've chosen a subject related to food, and you've chosen some outcomes from the senior year 11 and 12 curriculum related to food. Same goes for textiles. You might be a future textiles teacher. So again, we want this assessment task to work for you. Otherwise, we're wasting our time here. So to do that, I want you to go into a syllabus. And let me talk New South Wales, there is a textiles and design syllabus for year 11 and 12, and choose some outcomes from there. Okay. So this is important for you to determine your journey. Okay. We want you to choose which curriculum from a subject that's relevant to you. If there's questions, please put them in the chat. Okay. So whilst I'm just seeing if there's any questions relating to the chat, here is the strategies. There are 10 strategies in total, but these are the ones I want you to choose 2 from. Okay. And you might be thinking, well, where do I choose these? Okay. And we'll get to that in a minute. This is the structure that I'm expecting you to set and structure your assignment about. So just an introduction. We want to know what the subject is, what the year is. It might be year 11 or it might be year 12. It might be Queensland. It might be Northern Territory. Okay, we want to know which subject, which jurisdiction, and there might be some other information that you can show us, such as there might be any particular content. It could be based on a topic. So we want to know the whole context about where this is coming from, what we are focusing on. Second, let's have a look. Hit strategy 1. So it could be any one of these that are listed above. Let's just say strategy number 4. So you'll go hit strategy 1, worked examples. So a quick overview of the strategy, what you are teaching. So they're the outcomes you are going to cherry pick from the curriculum. And you're going to provide details of how you are going to use the strategy. The strategy might be used for a lesson. It might be used in a unit of work. It might be used in a teaching resource. Okay. Adjustments for diverse learners. Okay. We're starting to now get into a little bit of EDUSpeak. I'm going to stop sharing for a second because I want to see your faces. Is there anyone in here that could probably elaborate on what diverse learners are? What does that mean? It's EduSpeak.
I can give it a go.
Please, Anderson.
All right, awesome. For me, it emanates from one of the standards, know your students and how they learn. So basically, diversity is recognizing that students are different, they have different backgrounds, they have different um, understanding, they have different ways that they um, get the information in their minds, process it, and all of that. Some have disabilities, and so on and so forth. So that diversity is what we are talking about, and understanding that students learn differently is useful to us as teachers, because we then get to switch up our strategies to ensure that equity that you're talking about, that everyone accesses the curriculum in a way that they understand and can benefit from. Thanks.
Fantastic answer, Anderson. I'm going to be sending out virtual chocolate for you. That's you've just earned yourself a virtual chocolate. Well done. A great answer and hit the nail on the head there, because wouldn't the world be a very boring place without this diversity that we have? Like, I welcome it. It's fantastic. So just to sort of piggyback on what Anderson has said there, you're going to have students in your classroom, and let me just make it up and say, okay, there's 20 students in your classroom. You might have a couple of students who have a learning disability. Okay. And that's fine. That happens. And what that might mean is that those particular students might take them a little bit longer to process the information, which is fine. They just need a little bit extra time. Okay. There might be some students in your classroom that, based on a given topic, and let's just say the topic is food, okay, and let's talk about multicultural cuisine. Okay, my favorite thing, food. Okay, so I'm adjusting my headset. I'm talking about food now. Okay, so with that, there might be a student who, or a couple of students in your classroom that they might have a chef as a parent. Okay, they themselves, their hobby is cooking. Okay, or they might be in a household where there's multi-generational people. So they might have, if I was to tap into, they might have a nonna who's into some making pasta and teaching the family. So you can imagine that those students are coming into your classroom. If I move my hand out of the way, it goes out of view. But you know, their level of understanding about food is there. And there might be some other students who food isn't an important part of that particular family unit. So, you know, their knowledge and experience is sort of down there. So you can see there's a real diversity in the prior knowledge and understanding that the students give. Okay. So I find it always to be enriching, and you know, I learn from the students that I have in my classes, and no doubt over the next 6 weeks I'm going to be learning a lot from you. Okay, it's a transactional arrangement. Okay, so adjustments for the I need to share again. Okay. Okay, adjustments for the diversity of learners. But justifications of why. Okay. So you'll need to think about, well, looking at my hit strategy of worked examples, I understand that due to this diversity of learners, that there might be some students who benefit from seeing visual examples of what it is that they're required to make. For instance, let's just say it's a textiles unit of work, and the students are going to be making some tote bags to take shopping. Okay, great project, by the way. But you're justifying why you're using these worked examples as your approach to, improve the learning of the students. Now, Anderson was very good and he provided an excellent answer there. But that was just coming from Anderson. What we are hoping to see is that when you justify why you've chosen this strategy for the particular context, we also want to see any links to research. Are you making this stuff up? So the markers are there going, are they just making it up? Or is there actually research that supports that? That's what we want to see. If you can justify it and there's links to the research, so we are stepping on the shoulders of others, okay, in supporting our justification. Okay, so that's the task. There's two of those. There's strategy 1 and strategy 2, and it can be any two that you choose from here. That's entirely up to you. Now, I'll give you a hot tip. I'm just going to stop sharing for a minute. I'll give you a hot tip. I'm just going to tell you, okay? So don't tell anyone else. It's a secret. Okay? Don't tell anyone, right? But I find that the strategies that you use or select, sometimes, depending on what you choose out of the curriculum, some hit strategies work better with some outcomes than others. Okay? So don't tell anyone, okay? But that's the hot tip. I would cherry pick it, because what you're really trying to convince the marker is that they're going to look at your chosen outcomes for that syllabus, and they'll then look at your hit strategy and they go, that makes perfect sense. Of course that hit strategy is going to work for those particular outcomes. That's a really strong example. Excellent. That student's going to get HDs. Okay. So that's what we want. Okay. I'm going to stop now and move over to the content for this week, but I just want to do a quick little pulse check. I know we haven't gone through everything for the assessment task, but we've really taken a big bite out of it. Are there any burning questions that you've got that you really want to ask before we move over to the content? Natasha.
I was just wondering, in New South Wales, picking the syllabus we do, I know for textiles, and I'm assuming food tech as well, I don't know, I'm teaching textiles at the moment, we're starting a new curriculum soon for stage 6. Yep. Would we be looking at the new one that is currently available but not being taught, or would we be looking at the current syllabus that is being taught? Wow,
that's a cracker of a question. Okay, so virtual chocolate coming your way for that. What Natasha's saying is a very good question, because what we have to teach isn't stagnant. Okay, it's constantly being reviewed and updated. So for those New South Wales people who are in this unit, there are a whole heap of updates. And my suggestion to you to answer the question, because I do talk a lot and I want to nip that one in the bud really quickly. My suggestion to you is to choose a curriculum that is going to be useful to you. So if you know that you're not going to graduate for another 3 years, or sorry, 3 years, if you're not going to graduate for another 3 years, then I'd be going for a new curriculum. But if you're already teaching and you want to make this useful to you now, then choose the current one. Okay. Hopefully that makes sense. Righto. I'm going to move over to the content, and I want to talk about this concept of curriculum. I've thrown around these couple of words tonight, one being curriculum, the other one being syllabus. And that could be quite confusing. So I'm just going to share my screen once again. Okay. I think you can see that. I don't actually, whether it's a hot tip or not, I know in my teaching, my online teaching, I actually don't run my slideshows. I just keep them in this edit mode because I love playing around with them as I'm teaching. So what I'll do is I'll get to my screen and I'll go insert shape, and I'll just grab there we go. I just grab and I'll point to things and move it around, and whether that's effective for you or not, well, I hope so, but it's designed just to really keep that laser focus. So let's go to this concept of curriculum. And here we go. Strap yourself in. Now, I've already picked up that Natasha's currently teaching. I could be wrong, but I've picked that up. There's probably some other people, I'm assuming, that are already teachers teaching in schools. Now, it's an interesting situation, this concept of curriculum. So curriculum is based on a Latin word that I'm not even going to try and embarrass myself, but but it's based on this Latin word which talks about a course or a journey. Okay. Now, curriculum is based around, you'll see what we call the Australian curriculum is based around this course of what it is that students need to know and be able to do. For what purpose? Well, really just to be contributors to society. Now, we're not really getting into politics here. I don't think it's a good idea, but you might find that the government wants people to contribute to society very differently to how you as a parent might want your children to be able to contribute to society. So the curriculum, what it is that we teach students and what it is they need to know and be able to do, is a highly political beast. Okay? And it changes. As an example, there was this horrific period in Australian history, in world history, called World War II. And following that horrendous time, there was real emphasis on building up people's knowledge about science. Okay. So unfortunately, wars historically have really been an initiator of innovation and scientific breakthroughs, etc. But there's a political underpinning about why our students have to learn particular things. So that brings us to this point. Okay, and now you can see why I'm just, rather than sharing my slideshow, I'm just keeping it in edit mode. That brings us to the subject matter. So in some instances, the subject matter is packaged into a document called a syllabus. And traditionally in jurisdictions such as New South Wales, it was a document that you could download. Now it's all starting to go online. Okay. If I was to refer to some other jurisdictions like Queensland, South Australia, the ACT, etc., we tend to not use the words syllabus as this document, but rather the curriculum. Again, it's this journey. And what the curriculum is, it is a list of things that politicians, stakeholders, and stakeholders are teachers, education leaders, the public. These are a list of things that we want students to be able to learn about and do. So this is one thing, the subject matter. But what students learn as a result of learning about a particular subject differs depending on this ecological concept of curriculum. What do I mean by that? Let's take a, let me just choose a topic. Out of the blue, I'll refer to, or I said food, multicultural food, right? So we want our students to learn about culture and its impact on food. Now, that's what is written in the subject matter. Now, where could I teach this? I'd like to see it in the chat now. Where could I teach this concept of multicultural impact on food, culture's impact on food? What environment would have a really positive impact on students learning and understanding that? Interesting to see what people put in the chat. So Anderson, I apologize. Maybe my question wasn't pointed enough. What sort of learning environments would be more beneficial to learn about culture and its impact on food? What learning environments would be very beneficial? If you could parachute your students into a particular learning environment, what do you think would be very effective? Okay.
You think something more like something broad, like a multicultural food festival, something, or is it more like just the kitchen area at school that they can trial
Sorry, I can't
different things?
see who's talking.
That's right, Cassandra.
Cassandra, thank you for that. Yeah,
Just a bit confused. I'm like, do we
No.
dream like really big, or do we stay somewhere that's probably
no,
more
no. Well, let's
possible?
just say you're the teacher and you've got a group of students, and the topic that you're going to teach for the week is about culture and its impact on food. So if you had what could you do with those students? What learning environments would be really effective? So I'm just looking at the list and what you've said, Cassandra, about taking them to a food festival. That would be absolutely awesome. Like I live in Coffs Harbour, and we have Woolgoolga, we have an Indian food festival, which is just like paradise. Okay. Indian food is just absolutely amazing. So taking them to a food festival would be very, very effective for student learning. Looking at some of the other answers, different houses to see how they cook. That would be awesome to get that insight. Because and I'm just going off what Natasha's said here. I have done work in the Solomon Islands and in Fiji, and there are some different ways that they cook. So that just the way that they cook has an impact on the type of food that they cook, if that makes sense. So, for instance, like an earth oven that gets heated up in coals and food gets cooked in there. It's very different to how I might fry an egg, for instance, here at home. Saraba's, and please excuse my pronunciation, Saraba's put an environment that's interactive. So the learning environment, if it's interactive, would definitely be much more effective. Jacinta's put down selecting cultures that are relevant to the students. And that's an absolute cracker of an answer there, because there are some parts of the country where you have a congregation of particular cultures, and you think, great, I'm going to have some excellent buy-in here if I talk about this. Okay, so that's awesome. Thank you. Natasha's put down she's taken I've taken students to have Indigenous food experiences on the land. Exactly. So where am I going with this? And Salma's talked about storytelling, which is excellent. Getting in guest speakers, for instance, would be awesome. So, question for everyone here. What would be more effective? Talking about, just talking with no other resources, talking about Indian food and how yummy it is, or taking your students to an Indian food festival? What do you think would be more effective for their learning? Yeah, and you're getting excited like me, okay? Indian Food Festival, absolutely. So this is where the environment, this is where the environment has an impact on student learning, okay? So let's get class 1 and just have that bland chat classroom experience where everyone's just sitting in rows on a chair. And then let's get class 2 out to the Indian festival at Woolgoolga you know, feeding their face, wearing Rogan Josh all over their shirt, okay? Having a great time, the smells, okay? So environments make a difference. Let's talk about the teacher. I want to jump over to the teacher. I've got 5 minutes left. I want to jump to the teacher. How can the teacher make a difference to what students learn, their learning outcomes? I'd love to see what you put in the chat on this one. Uday, good point. You need to learn to be able to teach, and in fact, by teaching, you're actually deepening your own learning. Yes. Yes. I'm loving these answers. Let me chuck in the word expertise. See what answers pop up. If you have a teacher who's a master, has a deep level of expertise, yeah. Alima's put a chef down. Absolutely. So I'm just going to stop there for a minute. So student learning. We've got this subject matter, and let's just say we've got class 1 and class 2. Class 1 just has the standard classroom, no teaching resources. They've got a teacher who might be, and not having a shot at maths teachers, but they might have a teacher who's teaching, who's a maths teacher, but they've been asked to teach this food class. And we know about the diversity of students. We've already talked about that today. Some students are bringing with them a whole heap of knowledge. Other students might not be bringing much in terms of prior experience. Some students will be bringing some disabilities. Some students will be bringing some gifts. When I say gifts, I mean they're gifted. Okay, so when we say diversity, it's the full range. So comparing two year 11 classes in food, one class has amazing learning environment. They have an amazing teacher. They've got some students that are really gelling, working together, enthusiastic. That class is going to have such fantastic learning outcomes. The curriculum, what it is that they learn, will be very different to class 2, where even though they're learning about the same stuff, the environment is not as interactive as someone mentioned, not as engaging. The teacher might not be enthusiastic. They might be that maths teacher teaching food, so they're not qualified. Or there might be some students who are very disruptive, or they might have, you know, some challenges that as a result of that combination, the curriculum is different. So that's the concept I wanted to bring to you tonight. I'm going to stop sharing. We're going to go now, but I've really enjoyed already getting to meet some of you, and I can see it's going to be a fun 6 weeks. There will be some of you who are attending the tutorial tonight. Others will be tuning into either Gabriella's one or Emma's one later in the week. But thank you for coming, and thanks for your input already. And I want you to think about what hit strategies and what curriculum maybe you could ask your tutor, unpack that with them. But questions, you can email me. I'd probably recommend that you email me rather than the tutors specifically regarding the assignments. But anything that you want to bring before we leave tonight? Thank you, Natasha.
Yeah, and Dave, just one thing for me on the assessment. How do we submit the assessment? There's supposed to be a link. When I looked through, it hadn't been put yet. Yeah.
Yeah, it's under the task 1 section, there will be a Turnitin link there for you to submit in there.
Okay, has it been put already? Because I can't find it on my.
Good question. Sometimes I turn things off. I will check right now for you. Task 1. No. So I'll put that submission link in there. Great question. Thank you. Have a good one, folks.
Hi, David. Sorry, before you go.
Certainly.
I could only see your announcement in the announcement section. So is this the only class we have, or is there any other?
No, this is the only workshop. There's 3 tutorials that we have. So we've got a tutorial that's happening right now that Selena's going to be running. So if you go back into the Zoom meeting, there's a link there that you can see attend with Selena. There's if you're on the Gold Coast, there's
I think I'm from ACT, so maybe I'm on New South Wales. I'm with New South Wales, but
yeah. So you can either attend tonight. I think tonight would probably be best for you. There's also a Perth one in person as well. So I would definitely go with tonight.
Oh, so I can go with the Perth or the Queensland, anything is fine?
Well, the Queensland's face to face, and the Perth one is online, so you can attend the Perth one online if you'd like.
Oh, okay.
Okay. And if you can't make it, it is recorded, but it's always best if you can attend, because that way you can tailor it to suit yourself. Okay.
Yeah, sure. Thanks, David.
Okay. I have to go because I know that Selena's has started. So thanks very much. Great to see you.